What's up, guys? Welcome to the Flip Your Life podcast, the go-to podcast for you to flip your life and financial future through real estate. My name is Riley Pilgrim, and I have the wonderful Vaughn Bethell with us today, and we are going to be talking about how to evaluate and underwrite, essentially, real estate investment opportunities.
What's up, my good people?
Awesome, man. Well, let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Make this thing to the point, short and sweet. So I wrote my trusty questions down here so I don't forget.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this. So this is an important thing for people to know, especially that are getting into real estate or if they're considering lending to someone like yourself on real estate.
Okay.
What are the primary metrics or some of the most important metrics that you use or that investors should use to evaluate real estate opportunities?
One, can it make money?
Okay.
Right? So ain't no point in getting involved in a real estate opportunity if it doesn't make money.
Right.
We're not getting this for charity.
Yep.
We're not getting into this to lose money. So can it make money? And I know that's broad, but the first thing I'm looking at is, one, if I have a lender on the deal, how is my lender protected? Right? So how are they protected? And then what is the risk that's associated with it? Is it a high risk or is it a low risk? Obviously, I want it as low as possible.
Sure.
So I want to be able to, you've heard the adage in real estate that you make your money on the buy, right? So I want to make sure that when I'm buying the property, that I have enough margin or spread to, one, make money myself, two, protect my lender, and if something were to go wrong, minimize the risk of anybody losing money.
Yep.
Right? So I'm looking at the purchase price first and foremost versus the cost or the value of what the property is worth when it's fixed up. Right?
So number one is going to be what you're going to buy the property for compared to what the final fixed up pretty HGTV value is going to be based on comps and things like that, right?
Exactly. Okay. So what is the spread on that number from purchase price and rehab to value of the property when it's fixed up? Awesome.
Yep. Awesome. What else do you think that's important in addition to that when actually digging into some of the nitty gritty of underwriting a deal? Obviously, we're not trying to take someone through an entire walkthrough, but just some of the bigger things that people either sometimes overlook or just don't know about.
Yeah. So 99% of the properties that we buy are distressed, right? Okay. And they distressed physically, meaning they need repairs. And it might just be it's outdated and I need to go update it. Right. So the first thing I'm looking at beyond, hey, where is my original purchase price going to be, is how much work is it going to need to get it up to market value? Okay. Right. So what are my repair costs going to be? And that is something that you have to do really, really good due diligence on, because that can be the difference between making a lot of money and losing money. Right. So if I go in there and I just walk through a property and be like, oh yeah, I need to update the kitchen and the bathrooms and, maybe scrape the popcorn off the ceilings and all that good stuff. And I prepare for like a $25,000 or $30,000 rehab budget.
Sure.
But then I buy the property, close on it, and then there's foundation issues. A foundation issue can be $20,000
by itself
and eat up my whole profit.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Or there's mold and mildew in the crawl space. Right. There's water issues. Maybe the roof, it needs a new roof. So the big ticket items are very important, but they can add up to a lot of money if you miss them.
Sure.
So one of the first things that we do when we get a property under contract is we send a third party inspector out there. And then we also get an appraisal.
Got it. Okay. So you're getting a professional inspection and a professional appraisal.
Yep.
And so what I kind of hear you saying is, like you're saying, the money is made on the buy, right?
Yep.
And so for you to know that you're buying at the right price, one of the biggest aspects of that is knowing what it's going to be worth and knowing what it's going to cost to get it to that value.
Exactly.
So that you can figure it out. Like you're guaranteeing essentially your profit, barring any ridiculous circumstance. It's like, hey, I know that it's going to be worth this much. I know that it's going to cost me $50,000 to fix up, and I know I want to make this much profit, so I'm going to buy it here. Is that right?
Exactly. And I'm very good at what I do.
Okay.
I got some members on my team, or most of my team are very good at what they do, right? But we're not experts in certain areas, right? Remember in an earlier episode, I talked about trust but verify?
Sure.
Right? So I'm pretty good when I'm evaluating a property and running, renovation numbers, right? I'm pretty good at comping properties to get an idea of what it'll potentially sell for or what the market value of that property is. But I'm going to bring experts in that field to come in and verify those numbers, because if they come in and they see something inherently different than what I saw, and that number changes significantly, well, that's the difference between me going back and either renegotiating the price or canceling the deal altogether.
That makes sense.
Because I don't want to get myself into a bad deal. I definitely don't want to get my lenders into a bad deal.
Yeah, and I imagine the importance of that goes up tenfold when you're bringing in someone else's money that's not your own. What's there's a saying in the military that close is only good in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah.
You ever heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want to be close and you're dealing with other people's money. You want to be as exact as you can be. Obviously, we can't know to the penny when you're estimating repair costs and estimating after repair values. But you can go a little bit beyond just, I'm pretty good in this area. I think it's worth this. I think it's going to cost this. You're hiring professionals who do this day in and day out to verify those numbers before you go and purchase the property at X price.
Exactly. And we've all heard control your controllables, right? Mm-hmm. Those are things that I can control, right? So yes, I can do it myself, but I can also control, am I sending an expert out there to verify my numbers before I purchase the property?
Love it.
Right? Obviously, there's going to be things that happen. If you're in this industry long enough, there's always going to be things that happen that are out of your control.
Somebody could steal 20 grand worth of lumber or something ridiculous.
Yeah, we can't sit there and just fret over that for too long because it's going to happen. But as long as we control our controllables and do the things that we know we need to do to make sure that we get that margin as small as possible. And when I mean margin of error.
Yeah, not margin of profit.
Not margin of profit, but margin of error as small as possible. That's all we can do.
Yeah, right? So that's a good point. Well, I guess to wrap this one up, I'd be curious. I'm sure some people watching might be curious as well. Do you have any, off the top of your head, examples of maybe a deal and that REI Junkies has done recently and how you kind of walked through underwriting and how that went?
Yeah. So, we have a deal that we're closing on next week, actually. Okay. And we figured that when we got down to the negotiations with the seller and the price we locked the contract up was really good, right? And we knew that the property needed a lot of work because it's been vacant for a while. So we got the property for $90,000.
Okay.
When I did my underwriting, right, and comparables, I was coming up with an after repair value of about $285,000.
Oh, wow.
Right. I still to this day think we can get a $285,000 on the market. Right. My repair estimate for that was about $75,000.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So if you look at that, I'm all in for about 165. And if I sell it for 285, that's a pretty good spread.
Yep.
Right. So send an inspector out there and we're pretty spot on my repair estimate, but send the appraiser out there and they came back with an appraisal of about 235.
Oh, okay.
So it's a lot different.
Yeah.
Right. So, and everybody's going to be different, right? Sure. I've had I'm sure people listening to this podcast and watching this podcast, maybe you've had an appraisal on your house to get a HELOC or something like that. And that number came in lower than you expected to be. Right. Yep. So I honestly think that because there's other properties in that area that are selling for around that 280, 290 price point, but their appraisal came in. Well, guess what? If I go to the bank or a hard money lender,
they're going to use that appraisal.
They're going to use that appraisal.
No matter what Vaughn Bethell thinks.
Exactly.
That's what the appraisal said.
So what if my repair estimate was $100,000 and the appraisal came back in lower? Now the spread is different and it might not meet my criteria, right? So that just goes to show you the importance of trust but verify. If I would have just jumped into that deal without doing the third-party inspection and the third-party appraisal, I might be, my lender's not going to lose any money because there's still spread there, and at least to make sure that I pay back my lender.
Yep.
But I don't want to do all this work and
not make any money. Yeah, for sure.
Because I make my money on the spread.
Yep.
Right. So the trust but verify is very important, and to make sure that you do your due diligence and you follow a process. Right. So we say in our organization all the time, trust the process. And you don't want to miss a step, right? Because you can miss one step that can be very costly.
Yeah, it makes sense. And like you're saying, you're talking about how the money is made on the buy. Was that last episode?
Yeah, but future episodes or previous episode.
So on previous episode, you're talking about how money is made when you buy the real estate, right? And I think that process that you're laying out kind of it flows into that well because if you had it under contract for 90,000 and you do all this during the contract period, if you find out that the repair estimate's going to be 100,000, not whatever you thought it was, and then your ARV is going to be $70,000 less or $50,000 less, whatever the case may be. Yep. Now you, before purchasing the property, can go back to the seller and say, "Hey, seller, I know I was wanting to buy it from you at 90,000. Yeah, that was with these parameters. Well, these professional third-party individuals have informed me that my numbers were wrong, and these numbers are correct. And so with that being said, I need to now buy it at $60,000 or whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
Again, further, when you follow in that process, further protecting not only your profit, but the investor's money who comes before you.
100%.
So no matter what happens, that money's getting paid back. And then, like you said, you don't want to do all this work and not make a dime. What's the point of that? And so
exactly. And here's a big thing is doing a third party appraisal and a third party inspection. That's negotiating power. Mm-hmm. So if those numbers do come back higher than what you guesstimated, or
it's much easier to negotiate.
It's much easier to go back to the seller and say, hey, here's the reports, right? And because of this report, it is, the repair estimate is higher because I didn't account for the foundation issue that neither you or I saw.
Yep.
Right.
So it's not blaming them.
It's not blaming them. Right.
Just, hey.
And then also the appraisal came back in a lot lower than we expected to come in. And, whether I believe it or not, this is what the bank is going to go off of. Right. And so here's the thing. I understand we originally agreed to $90,000, but it doesn't work for me with these new numbers.
Yep.
And this is probably the same issue that you're going to run into when you go to sell it to another investor or another person. The appraisal is still going to be the same, and the repair estimates or the issues that are going on are still going to be the same. Yep. So, I understand if the new price doesn't work for you, but if it doesn't, I'm going to have to cancel our contract.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about it is the worst case scenario in that situation.
Yep.
Is they don't sell to you anymore, and you just saved the investors a whole heartache, saved yourself a whole lot of work and heartache, and people losing money. That process is key. Underwriting's key.
Exactly. But from a negotiation standpoint, right, we talked about in the earlier episode, the numbers don't lie. Yeah. Right. Trust the numbers. And if you can make it real, help them understand by showing them real reports, real numbers, and how you came to your numbers, it's a lot easier to negotiate and to get a reduction in price if the numbers no longer make sense.
Totally. I get it, man. That's all we have for you guys today. I hope that if you're watching this, take this information. If you're investing, if you're flipping, if you're trying to buy and hold, please don't overlook those things. I know we can get busy in our day-to-day life trying to run a business, and it's tempting to cut corners and skirt processes that you do all the time because you just assume it's going to work out in your favor. But please don't do that. Take Vaughn's advice. Trust the process. Trust the numbers, and protect yourself. And if you have investors, protect them too.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys listening.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Till the next episode.
Peace.